Hey there. Marhennis asked me to make a video about our experience in Squamish. A little backstory is I've been climbing about 6 years, mostly sport for those years. About a year and a half before our Yosemite trip, I got interested in trad because we had a trip to Squamish planned. And after I went to Squamish, I was pretty much hooked. Hennis and I planned this trip to Yosemite about a year and a half into my trad career. And he had told me a lot about it. Nothing honestly could prepare me for the experience of when I got there. It was a lot more full on than I expected, at least the climbs we chose to do. We started with Central Pilar of Frenzy. I found the grades difficult and things were pretty full on. The rock felt polished, again, at least the climbs we did. We went there with hopes of doing Half Dome. That was the big objective. And again, he had told me a lot about it and tried to prepare me for what to expect, but nothing could prepare me for what we ran into when we got there. The approach was nothing like I've ever experienced. We did the Death Slabs approach, about 5 hours up the mountain. We attempted the route and it didn't go according to plan. Again, things felt very difficult. The exposure was very real on Half Dome. The climb starts after about 3,000 feet of hiking, so the exposure was very real. We've climbed the Chief before, and that very much felt like you were doing individual climbs up different tiers of the mountain, brought you to the top. This was, you were fully out there, just out in the mountains, exposed on the side of the cliff. So it definitely was a challenge mentally. We tried to do our best, and unfortunately we had to retreat after pitch 6. Well, that was still an option for us. We had some epics out there on another route called FairView Dome. I believe 11 or 12 pitches, alpine style, in Toulomne Meadows. We ended up going up a wrong route, or a wrong crack, I should say, en route, and we had to do some maneuvering to get ourselves back on route, leaving some pieces behind. But the true adventure came when we topped out. The guidebook had not really said much about the top out, just said walk down the backside, and that's what we did when we got up there. It was dark by the time we got up there, and we had headlamps and everything. We were as prepared as we thought we needed to be, with layers and all that. We had no cell phone service. This climb was about an hour drive away from cell phone service, which the main thing I would get across about Yosemite is that a lot of the climbs feel very desolate, and it felt like if something happened, no one was going to find you, no one was going to get to you. There were no other cars in the parking lot. It was a pretty scary feeling, to be honest, but just did my best personally to put that to the back of my mind and just climb, deal with the pitches that were in front of me and control what I could control. By the time we got to the top of FairView Dome, it was fully dark, and we did what we thought the guidebook said and started walking down the backside. And we walked and it was pretty foggy out, so it was a little disorienting, and it began to get steeper and steeper. Until a point where we thought we really shouldn't be walking down this anymore. The fog made it very deceiving. So we thought we saw a ramp down below us. So we made the call to leave some pieces behind and rappel down to that ramp. When we got there, it turned out that wasn't the way down, and but we were kind of committed at that point. We thought we spotted another way down, so we made the call to leave a couple more pieces behind and rappel down. We did that, I believe, 3 or 4 times before I said to our Hennis, like, maybe we should just spend the night here. We couldn't really tell how high we were up on the mountain, and I was getting freaked out that we would be stuck on the back of this cliff with no cell phone signal, no way to get down. And so yeah, I said to him, maybe we should just spend the night here until we can see more of what we're doing. And it was cold. It was in sub-zero temperatures. We weren't exactly prepared to spend the night. And he said, I think we're close. And so he's my trad mentor. He's taught me everything I know. And so I just trusted him. I thought, he knows better than I do. Let's give it a try. We'll do one more rappel. On that rappel, he radios up to me on the Rocky Talkies, and he says he found a bolt. At this point, I've been saying my prayers. I'm wondering what I'm doing there, and I'm very relieved he's found this apparent bolt. When I get down to him, it's a very old 1/4-inch bolt, homemade looking hanger, rusty. He kind of chuckles, and I said, man, I don't know if that's something to be excited about. This rock we were coming down this whole time was featureless. Miraculous cracks along the way. We could build an anchor to continue to the next miraculous crack. So at this bolt, there was nothing else. There was no other places for anything. And so he says to me, don't worry, I have a backup piece below us. I look at what that piece is. It's a 0.1 and a crack about like 3 feet down. And that's all that could fit there. But we could see the ground at this point. We both had to come onto that bolt to continue our rappel. And so that's what we did. Just, again, I said my prayers, and he rappelled down first. And then I went after him, collecting that 0.1 on the way, because we had left a lot of gear, and I wasn't really prepared to leave anymore. We made it down and practically kissed that ground. And the biggest takeaway was, we left a lot of gear behind. About $700 each worth of gear. And at the end of the day, when we were in that situation, if you said to me, if you could pay $700 to get out of this right now, would you? It would have been a no-brainer. So by the time we got down, we were very happy to be there. And it just kind of felt like a little bit of a failure thing that we left that much gear behind. So it was disappointing. It was upsetting. But in the end, came to terms with that. heard many stories about these things happening, and felt like less of a failure after that, but it was a hard pill to swallow. But all in all, we left Yosemite with some memories we will never forget, some stories and epics I'll surely never forget, and a lot of lessons learned. So it was a great time at the end of the day.